Did you hear it? Loud twinkle toes sound?
Nope. This is Winging It, the somewhat whimsical, certainly worrying, decidedly wonky, seldom weighty, endlessly well-intentioned, and wildly witty show about music where one knows what's coming and the other doesn't. And it happens typically in between both proper to ensure you can spend a fuck ton, a fuckload, a shit ton of time with us often. Mm-hmm. Frequently. No. Yes, the frequency ebbs and flows, but there's a frequency. So, interesting topic, I find. And we are talking about the 10 misconceptions in music history. There are 10. No, there's more than 10, but these are the 10. Ready?
I love it where, who gives us these little bon mots, you know?
This is Listverse. Very nice. Thank you, Listverse. So, as they say, music history is full of legendary moments, but it's also packed with half-truths, exaggerations, and stories that refuse to die. From misunderstood lyrics, we've done that one, to rivalries that weren't quite what they seemed, some of the most widely repeated facts in music are simply not true. So let's take a look at some of those facts. So number 10 is Cass Elliott's death.
Ah, okay.
So the singer of the Mamas and Papas, lead singer, Cass Elliott, was widely reported to have died choking on a ham sandwich in 1974.
That's all anybody's ever believed. Yeah.
I believe everybody heard that one. Mm-hmm. And it stuck. According to her daughter, Owen, who was 7 years old at the time, there was a ham sandwich, but she didn't eat it, and she didn't choke on it. In her book, Owen revealed that she has been trying to dispel this myth for decades, especially because, you know, it's simply not true, and it bothers her. Obviously, she wants it to be true. So, while Owen believes that Alan Carr, Alan Carr created the story to protect Elliott from worse rumors, many believe it was simply a way to sensationalize her passing. The persistent claim that she died eating a ham sandwich remains one of the most well-known misconceptions in music history.
Does it say anywhere what she actually died of, you know?
Now, I believe that I found what she died of, and I believe it was a heart condition, but I need to probably check it out. Let's see. Heart attack. She had a heart attack.
Ah, okay. Yeah, and folks, for you younger folks out there, I'm telling you, you want to hear, you've probably been completely unable to avoid the great voice of Karen Carpenter in your life, no matter how young you are, and that's good. Cass Elliott is another one of those great singers from earlier, because she died fairly young.
Yes.
How old was she? I don't remember, but she sang lead on so many great songs and had some songs of her own, like Words of Love and Dream a Little Dream of Me. Oh, she was fantastic. So
100,000%.
And I've always thought that she died from a ham sandwich. You know?
Yeah,
didn't care, of course, except it was terrible. You know?
It just was in the bed with her, so that was what stuck. But it was a heart attack, something that happens to people of all ages every day. So Altamont's infamous moment.
Oh.
In 1969, the Altamont Free concert had begun to descend into chaos. Though there were multiple reasons for this, one of the most infamous was the hiring of the motorcycle gang,
the Hells Angels.
That's right. As security, allegedly in exchange for $500 worth of beer. Not a bad deal. The gang reacted poorly to rowdy crowd members, going so far as to violently beat multiple concert goers. During the performance by
the Rolling Stones,
18-year-old Meredith Hunter, armed with a revolver and approaching the band, was stabbed to death by a security guard. While the Hells Angels have maintained that they felt Hunter meant to hurt them, most agree he was carrying the gun for protection against the increasingly volatile environment. Either way, the legend has it that the crime occurred while the Stones were playing.
Well, according to the stories, Sympathy for the Devil.
Right.
Although I think that's inaccurate, but that's the story. You know,
making the moment a poignant and ironic moment in music history. However, footage from the documentary Give Me Shelter shows the stabbing clearly taking place during the song.
Now, you see, I don't know what song it really was.
under my thumb.
Under my thumb. Okay. Yeah.
This correction is often overlooked, even though Altamont is widely considered the symbolic end of the 1960s counterculture era.
That it definitely is. There are these defining moments of like the end of the 60s where it was like everything suddenly turns dark, and the like the veneer comes off, like Altamont and the Manson family and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And do you remember how that affected? I mean, I'm not saying that you were around and doing all that, but do you happen to recall, did the Rolling Stones like take some time away? That had to be very traumatic.
Yeah, it had to be. I mean, and obviously, no, well, maybe it isn't obvious to everybody. From my personal perspective, hiring the Hells Angels to be security is not a smart idea.
I mean, that seems like it could be problematic.
There was a tendency with countercultural musicians like that, like Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, to basically endorse and support and appear to be, in favor of the Hells Angels.
Right.
And that still, I mean, you want real security. I mean, $500 worth of beer, just pay them better than that if you're going to have a gig like that. But that didn't go well. But
they're not trained to handle it. They're, you know what I mean? They're just going to have a response, and it. And
you can't exactly count on a motorcycle club to be like liaisons with the real police if they need to be. You know?
So interesting decision. Maybe they just didn't know better, but. Yeah. I'm glad that the Rolling Stones recovered from that and just kept moving forward, but what a horrible, horrible day that was.
Oh, yeah.
So the next one is Mozart's burial. Have you heard this one?
I don't think so.
In the 18th century, families who could not afford private burial plots often interred their loved ones in common graves. These were burial sites without permanent headstones, sometimes mistakenly associated with paupers or the destitute. For centuries, the myth that classical composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was buried in a pauper's grave has persisted. It is often used as a cautionary tale about financial mismanagement, suggesting that even a genius of Mozart's stature died in poverty and obscurity.
Yeah, that one I have heard. I've heard that Mozart liked to live large and gamble and things like that and everything, and really didn't have much money at the end. But I think I did hear the pauper's grave thing too. Whereas Beethoven, we know where he's buried, but Mozart, I do think that that story is fairly well circulated. Are you saying it's not true?
It says research has shown that Mozart was most likely buried in a common grave, not a pauper's grave. This type of burial was standard practice in Vienna at the time due to reforms under Emperor Joseph II. Mozart would have been placed in a wooden coffin and buried alongside others with a simple marker rather than a grand monument. While less elaborate than modern expectations, this was typical for middle-class citizens of the period.
There you go, yeah.
No matter how brilliant you are.
Yeah, I mean, and, some of the great composers really didn't click in their lifetime, whereas Mozart, he was a sensation pretty much throughout his very brief life.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that did not necessarily equate to wealth, as we've heard. So.
Absolutely not. So... very, very interesting, but probably dispelling quite a few rumors as we go through this today. So, Edelweiss origins, the origins of that song. Do you know that song, From the Sound of Music?
From the Sound of Music, yes. Edelweiss, every morning you greet me. Yes. Absolutely. The origin, I think it's the name of some flower, isn't it, that makes you dopey or something? Yeah.
In the show, or the movie in this case, Edelweiss is sung by Captain Von Trapp as a sentimental farewell to Austria as he prepares to flee the Nazis. The song was deliberately written to sound like a traditional Austrian folk tune, and it does such a convincing job that many people believe it actually is one. Despite its old-fashioned style and timeless lyrics, Edelweiss was written specifically for the musical more than a decade after World War II.
Oh.
So that's interesting. It actually has never been Austria's national anthem, nor has it ever held any official national status. Notably, it was also the final song written by Oscar Hammerstein II before his death.
Really? No kidding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people did think it was like an anthem. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, I don't think so. But there was, a widely held belief that it was.
Well, they do. They make it kind of anthemic by putting it in the movie at that point,
It definitely is.
And it seems like this has got to be some, venerable, just one of those songs that's so widely revered in a country that it's accepted as a sort of an unofficial national anthem, like
Right.
William Blake, Jerusalem
Oh,
is
yeah.
considered, and I swear
Right. Okay.
I'm so ignorant that, the Emerson, Lake and Palmer version was the first one I ever heard.
Oh.
But it seriously, because that's when I was 10 or so. Am I going to know
Right.
him? But William Blake's Jerusalem, that's like the unofficial, like the most revered song in England,
So interesting.
after that. So I thought Edelweiss was something similar, and it turns out it's bullshit.
It's not. It's just for the movie. So very interesting. So hopefully we're helping everybody sleep better at night through this little show. So the Monkees sales claim. Have you heard this one?
Yes. I think we talked about this on a recent show.
Throughout the last 50 years, reputable outlets such as Rolling Stone, Vice, and the Daily Mail, and even the Washington Post have repeated the claim that in 1967 the Monkees outsold both the Beatles and the Rolling Stones in record sales. In 2015, band member Mike Nesmith revealed that he was the original source of this totally bogus Class A lie. Now, during a 1977 interview, he intentionally misled a reporter, stating he would lie because I don't trust the press. I didn't expect him to tell the truth, so neither would I. So later, obviously, he explained that he hoped the journalists would fact check, and they didn't, and blah, blah, blah. So it is not true. It's not true. He just said it to be provocative, and apparently people bought it. But it's not true. And you're right, we did cover this in another show, but again, a widely held myth that it's absolutely not true.
I thought it was based on some statistical voodoo, why, like, on this week at this hour, whatever, anything that they could do to crunch the data to come out as if the Monkees were ahead even slightly for a little while. I did not know that he just flat out made it up.
Yeah, just made it up.
It's just, that was guerrilla marketing. I mean, it's really clever. I mean, these guys were good at that stuff.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It's not the first time or the last time that's going to happen. Right, just being provocative to be provocative because it's going to, result in some sort of press, whether it's good or bad, doesn't even matter, apparently.
And you know what? And another thing you really got to hand it to him about is that when a lot of people do stuff that's provocative to generate press and so forth, it's a lot more. It's a lot more offensive. It bothers people more. I mean, it's more of a, just an asshole thing to do. And this is actually pretty funny and amusing. I mean, nobody's harmed at all in the slightest by them pretending to have outsold other acts.
Well, I mean, maybe those other acts are pissed, though.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you fucking say that when it's not fucking true? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying because other acts work hard as well. So
Well, it seems like a hit and run too, as far as publicity stunts. I mean, it would get the press immediately, and it would be debunked instantly right
But it
after
wasn't.
that. No, I guess that's true. Well, it wasn't really.
It wasn't.
I mean, I've heard that there was a story. I didn't know anybody believed it for long.
No, he explained that he had hoped the journalists would fact-check his claim, but instead the statement was printed that very next day and continued to circulate for decades.
No kidding.
So, yeah, so that's why he did it, and it just kept going and going and going. That's how these things, tend to be taken as factual, because if you repeat them enough, apparently...
And I seem
fact.
to remember that they were very big. Jimi Hendrix opened for them in 1967.
It's insane.
For, I think it was brief. I don't think he stuck
I
on the
would
tour
hope
for
so.
long. But I mean, who would want to go on after Jimi Hendrix?
No way in hell.
Yeah, so that part was right. But I thought that was instantly dismissed.
No. So very, very interesting. This one is really interesting because it's the entire, backbone of the movie Amadeus. But Salieri and Mozart, the devastating myth of Mozart's murder. For years, one of the most persistent myths in classical music has been that Antonio Salieri murdered Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart out of jealousy. This idea was popularized by the play and film Amadeus, which depicts Salieri as a bitter rival driven to poison the young genius. In reality, there is no credible historical evidence to support this claim.
Right. This idea that Salieri, who did perfectly well as a composer in his day.
Not nearly as well.
No, not nearly as well as Mozart. But just to make up a rivalry, it's like when we talk about popular music rivalries, I just roll my eyes because it's such bullshit and stupid.
It definitely
And a lot of
is.
it is created by the media. This one was also, a writer just had this fanciful idea. Mozart just died young because he wasn't terribly healthy and he lived a little bit of a dissolute life and everything. No reason at all to think Salieri was involved or that he had any feelings like that too. That's true, yeah. It's too bad, honestly. I feel bad for Salieri's legacy because a lot of people believe that.
Well, and then it was memorialized in a movie. So
yeah,
then,
that's what I'm saying. That's what everybody thinks now. They wouldn't put that in a movie if it was true. Salieri must have been a jerk. Well, no, They did the same thing with a boxer. There was a movie, Cinderella Man or whatever the hell it was, with Russell Crowe. Mm-hmm. The boxer, Max Baer Sr., father of Max Baer Jr. from the Beverly Hillbillies, was a boxer, and he was made to look like such an absolute bastard in that movie, and he wasn't in real life. And they've been sued, too. It's a shame what they did to Salieri, although obviously Max Baer's a lot more contemporary, so they figured they could get away with it with Salieri, but I'm glad somebody stood up and defended his name. So.
Well, just to further the whole, debunking, Salieri later taught Mozart's son and was a respected composer, obviously, and teacher in his own right. The rumor of poisoning appears to have originated shortly after Mozart's death and was fueled by speculation and gossip. Over time, it grew into one of the most famous misconceptions in music history, despite being widely debunked by historians.
You know what else I don't know if really happened? If there's any truth to what they show in the movie, that as Mozart was nearing the end, he was writing the Requiem, and Salieri was helping him. I don't think that happened even, but...
I have no idea.
That's another thing that they could have just made up, and no one will know. That part's probably at least known, but the whole thing, they just love to dramatize these stories.
I mean, Amadeus is an amazing movie. I love it.
Like David Helfgott, the pianist who was the bassist with Jeffrey Rush's amazing performance in the movie Shine, they dramatized the shit out of that the same way. It didn't go down like that, but they have to, I guess. And it's a shame that in this case it harmed Salieri's reputation. Whereas,
I don't know if, he's been dead for a very long time.
Yeah,
so I don't think
everybody knows now, I guess. But when it first came out, not that anyone really cared or knew,
wasn't hurting his career or anything.
It actually probably played a significant role in reviving his works.
Yeah, so
you do hear Salieri on the radio now and then, probably because he isn't forgotten because of Mozart.
He was a brilliant composer, just not the same level. Yeah. But yeah, so very interesting. But again, if they'd have just said this is bullshit, which I guess probably should have known it was bullshit, but it felt very real, and obviously you're sucked into the storyline, and you felt sad for Mozart, and you didn't want him to die, and all this. So anyway, what about Puff the Magic Dragon?
Well, you mean he didn't live by the sea?
He probably did.
Yeah. What about... why are we talking about Puff the Magic Dragon?
Well, since its 1963 release by Peter, Paul, and Mary, Puff the Magic Dragon has been widely interpreted as a song about drug use.
Oh.
Many listeners believe the lyrics were filled with coded references to marijuana, pointing to words like puff, dragon, paper as supposed evidence.
Shit, I never thought of that. I swear, I never heard of that.
Oh my God. However, the song's origins are far more innocent. It was based on a poem written in 1959 by Leonard Lipton, a college student who later collaborated with Peter Yarrow to turn it into a song.
So Lipton was a dope fiend then.
The lyrics tell a nostalgic story about childhood imagination and the inevitable loss of innocence that comes with growing up.
I always thought Jackie Paper was a strange name, and now we know why. It's just, I guess it sounds better than Jackie Bowl, huh? It's like Puff, huh? Puff. Yes. Dragon. Take a drag. I'm dragging on a joint here. I'm going to take a puff,
I'm surprised. Did you ever see Meet the Parents?
No.
That's a shame.
No, it's not. I'm sure.
No, it's fucking hilarious, and you need to calm down before you say bad things about that funny movie that's adorable.
The Meat movies, you're telling me, are hilarious.
They're so cute. Oh. You know what? I've been proven right a bazillion times.
That's true. I've discovered so many comedy franchises that I love now that I never would have looked at before.
It's adorable, it's sweet, it's funny, it's silly, it's all the things. Both Lipton and Yarrow have consistently denied any drug-related meaning, explaining that the song is simply about the transition from childhood to adulthood. Despite these clear explanations, the drug interpretation remains one of the most enduring misconceptions in popular music.
Never heard that one.
Absolutely no. It's all over the place, and it even shows up in Meet the Parents. He's like, "Oh, Peter, Paul, and Mary, I love them." And he's like, "Yeah, too bad this song is about, drugs." And he's like, "What are you talking about? It's about the boy's magical dragon." And he's like, "You dope fiend."
Oh, I would have.
It's very funny.
He actually said dope fiend?
Yeah.
I would have remembered that if
funny.
I'd ever seen the movie, but I never thought that was a good idea.
Oh, my God, the movie's so good. They're so funny. They're so cute. So what about the 27 Club?
Well, yeah, everybody knows about that one.
the so-called
Yeah.
27 Club refers to a group of famous musicians who died at the age of 27. Hendrix, Joplin, Morrison, Cobain, and Winehouse. The idea that 27 is a uniquely dangerous age for musicians has become deeply embedded in popular culture. Many believe there's something mysterious or even supernatural about this pattern. However, studies have shown that there is no statistical evidence to support the idea that musicians are more likely to die at 27 than at any other age. I mean...
Well, all right. Think about how many musicians there have been, and yet the ones that died at 27 that are notable, you can count on one hand or two at the most. I mean, that 26, 28, a lot of musicians died at all those ages. Now, it is a little bit odd that there were three that particularly represent a generation, and we're talking Joplin, Morrison, and Hendrix. I mean, that's like Altamont. That's like the end of the 60s. It's a little bit much, but I mean, seriously, there have been countless musicians who didn't die at 27.
So if you think about it, it's this hard and fast living, life on the road, living a life of excess and all of that, and feeling, like you're immortal, all of this. I think that probably led to those early and very young deaths, but it does seem really eerie that so many happened at 27 that were such a big deal, and there were so many warning signs that they were probably going to die.
They were all very big deal artists, it's true. I mean, pivotal in their generation in certain ways, absolutely. But of course, 27, I mean, by the time you even have a band that anybody knows about and you've had success to where you can even afford to live that dangerously, is you're going to be in your mid-20s. So it kind of stands to reason that, like I said, if you made it to 30 or 35, you probably had a lick of sense. But that's an age where you could easily have... It all seems to point to that, just the right age.
Yeah, I mean, musicians face increased risk throughout their 20s and 30s. It's not just 27. But, again, just some eerie coincidences. I think when Winehouse died, it was like, oh, hell no. The 27 curse.
Yeah, well, yeah. That revitalized the whole thing, too. And Cobain,
really did.
not that long ago.
Oh,
not that long ago in the span of my life, anyway.
No, that was horrible. So Phil Collins is In the Air Tonight. Few songs have inspired as many rumors as Phil Collins is In the Air Tonight. One of the most persistent claims is that the song was written about Collins witnessing a man fail to save someone who was drowning, or even about a real-life crime that Collins later confronted in concert. Obviously, we talked about this before, but there's absolutely no truth to it. He wrote it during a difficult time. He's going through a divorce, and that's what it's about. So any stories attached to it other than that are entirely fictional, and he's addressed it, but it still persists because sometimes they're just fun, apparently, to just keep them going.
Why does it surprise people that songwriters just make shit up that has nothing to do with them and never could? I highly doubt that Sting ever turned the tables on his instructor in the occultic arts. I don't think that ever happened, like in the song Wrapped Around Your Finger,
Right.
It's just a story.
It's just a story, and it's a fantastical story that reaches people, and we're storytellers. That's what we do. So most of the time, honestly, the songs I write are not my stories. They're about somebody else. It's very rare that they're about me. And they're mostly not true.
Yeah. My stories are mostly bullshit. It's a story. It's not about anything in my life unless it's a gag, So, yeah, totally.
We only have one more. So Yoko Ono and the Beatles. Do you know this one? Everybody knows this one.
Well, that she's responsible. She's still being blamed for that, and you don't Yoko my band. Of course, yes, it's not.
Yes, they believe that she is to blame for breaking up the Beatles. Many fans believe her presence caused irreparable tension within the band, and it's persisted for decades.
That would still be John Lennon's fault.
Right? The breakup of the Beatles was the result of multiple factors: business disagreements, creative differences, the death of the manager Brian Epstein in 1967. By the time Yoko Ono became a constant presence, the band was already experiencing significant strain. It just was. So recent releases like Peter Jackson's The Beatles Get Back, which was so good, have further challenged this myth, showing that Ono's presence was far less disruptive than previously believed. In fact, John Lennon had already made the decision to leave the band before the official breakup was announced. The idea that Ono single-handedly caused the split is a dramatic oversimplification. Now, here's the thing. Do I think she caused additional tension? Sure I do.
Yeah, probably.
Do
but
I
that,
think it irritated the fuck out of them that she was always fucking there like a fifth Beatle?
Yeah.
Sure. Do I think that she started to shape his life and influence him a lot and turn his face in other directions? Of course I do. Does that make her bad and evil and the end of the Beatles? No, it doesn't.
And none of that negates the fact that he left the Beatles himself.
Right. They are known for their infighting.
Yeah.
And from everything like it said, from business disagreements to creative license to who wrote what, all of the things. So again, I know it sucks to have the girlfriend hanging around all the time, but you know what? It was what it was, but she is not responsible for breaking up the Beatles. She didn't make it better, but it was going to implode anyway.
Yeah, no, Lennon and McCartney. No, Lennon was not going to work with McCartney. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think McCartney ever would have. No, he wanted to be the Beatles. I think.
Interesting.
Well, Ringo also left. So to me, the most the one who wanted to be the Beatles the most was McCartney. Always. But then when he had to go solo, he sure did a bang up job of it.
Fine.
He did fine.
Just fine.
But Lennon left the Beatles. Come on, he didn't have to. Yeah.
Nobody had to influence him to do it. He was just done.
And it's not. And can I blame the guy? No, he has no moral obligation to stay in the fucking band because we like them.
Right.
He can do what he wants. They gave us some of the greatest music ever. Thank you all, and
do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end, and that was kind of a fun little, romp around the land of bullshit.
I like that. I thought that was nice.
It was kind of fun, kind of interesting. So hopefully we helped to, clear some names, right the wrongs that have been done throughout history, and had now made sure that all of the truth is there.
And I think that might have ended up being a better segment than what I was proposing, which was bands who have lost the most stubborn belly fat. You vetoed that. You nixed that, and I thought, why?
Right away.
But you were right.
I really turned it around. Yeah. And now that we've rewritten history, right, to make sure it's purely factual, that only leaves for you to say,
let's fly this coop.
This has been Winging It, a presentation of Birds of a Feather on What the Flock Radio.